Welcome back. In this lecture, I will be guiding you through writing a resume. Imagine you found a job that excites you. Getting the job would finally give you the chance to do more of what you love most, like teaching others, working one-on-one with clients, or learning new technologies. The only thing standing between you and the job is communicating to the employer that you would do a really good job, so they will hire you. In the job application process, you'll have many opportunities to show your passion for the job and to demonstrate how your skills and experiences have prepared you for it. A resume or CV is an excellent chance to give the employer a snapshot of your abilities and accomplishments. In this lecture, we'll be discussing the document most commonly known as a resume or CV. It's called a resume in the US and a CV in many other countries. We will not be discussing the much longer document typically written by researchers, educators, or academics, which is known as a CV in the United States. So from here on out, I'll refer to the document as a resume to keep things simple. All right, so let's begin taking a look at some slides here. Give me one moment. All right. So too many talented professionals have the same challenge. They invest time in building a resume, sending it to prospective employers, and posting it on career sites, only to have their efforts met by silence. When someone doesn't receive a response to his or her resume, it probably ended up in the no pile because of mistakes or because it wasn't read at all due to the ATS or applicant tracking system vetting process. When I look over my clients' resumes that do not get responses, I often discover many mistakes. So I work with them to build their resume strategically so that they not only tell their unique story and show the value they offer, but ensure it's visible to employers and recruiters by incorporating keywords. Once we do this together, the silence is replaced by invites for interviews. So in these upcoming, in these next slides, you will learn how to write a resume that will pass the screening process and lead to invites for interviews. Let's take a look at some learning outcomes. So in these videos, you are going to learn what employers are looking for on a resume, what stands between you and a hiring manager receiving your resume, the differences between a resume and CV, and what makes a resume stand out. Let's take a look at some learning takeaways as well. So after this lecture, you will be able to draft a resume that is effective and will help you get a job. Make your resume concise and to the point. Select and present relevant experiences and achievements that make you stand out. And make use of resources that can ensure the quality of your resume. Now let's transition to talking about the purpose of a resume. All right, so the purpose of a resume is to introduce yourself to a recruiter or potential employer. Also to provide a snapshot of relevant experience to show you're qualified for the job. Also to demonstrate your quality of work and attention to detail to a potential employer. Also to allow the employer to see how you stack up next to other candidates. And ultimately, to hopefully make a memorable impression and get an invitation for an interview. And please keep in mind that the advice given in these slides is about American-style resumes, the style of resume required not only in the US, but by many international companies worldwide. Many of the recommendations will be relevant no matter the country where you aim to work, but more research is needed on a country by country basis to know the expectations you need to meet. So now let's discover how to write a resume so that it lands in the hands of a person with decision-making power and will grab their attention so that they keep reading until the end and place it in the yes pile. All right, let's turn to the main resume formats. Specifically, we'll see chronological, functional, and combination resumes. There are other resume formats, but these are the three most common ones. So a non-traditional resume is appropriate for people seeking jobs in creative fields and could include photos, graphics, graphs, and other visuals, but those are not common, and that's not what we'll be talking about today. So chronological resumes are the most common resume format and feature a work history section prominently at the top of the resume. So it starts with work history. With this format, you list your most recent position first and include all dates of employment. And that's for somebody with a few years of experience. But if someone is right out of university, it would be their education first, and then immediately after that, work history. And then functional resumes, also known as skill-based resumes, often include a resume summary or headline at the top, followed by key skills. Then you include professional experience or accomplishments, and including work history is optional. And if it is added, it's just a list of employment concisely at the end of the resume. And finally, a combination resume is a mix of chronological and functional resume components. Here you list your skills and abilities first, and then write your experience in chronological order. And a combination resume is the type of resume you're going to learn how to create in this lecture. All right, now let's consider resume design. The design of your resume is what the reader will notice first. In the following slides, you will learn how to create a professional and attractive resume that makes a great first impression. The resume design guidelines we'll cover are for an applicant tracking system friendly resume, which means that an applicant tracking system will be able to scan and process the information in your resume. And I want to back up just a moment to make sure all of you know what an applicant tracking system is. It is a tool that employers use to identify strong candidates. These systems include algorithms that can quickly, almost immediately scan your resume, compare it to a job description, and rank you, give you a score. So it could say this candidate is a 30% match or an 80% match. And then employers are most interested in looking at the resumes with a high match rate. And the only way to appear as a strong match for a job is to incorporate many of the keywords from a job description so that an applicant tracking system will flag you as a candidate that is a strong fit for the job. All right, there are other functions of applicant tracking systems like being a place, storage place for resumes. But for you as a job seeker, the most important thing you need to know is that most companies are using these as part of their hiring process. You have to assume that all large companies have the funds to use them. At least half of mid-sized companies are using them, and not as many small companies are using them. But they are a very big part of employers' hiring process. And so it's important to create a resume that can make it through and make you appear as a strong match for a job. All right. So while While the style of a resume that makes it through an applicant tracking system is attractive for its simplicity and organization, it is not as beautiful and eye-catching as many of the templates you'll find online. So those eye-catching templates often incorporate color, lines, columns, and graphics, and they are appropriate in special circumstances, like when you are applying for a job in a creative field, or when you're networking and you plan to hand out your resume, a paper version of your resume to people. Or when you're applying to a company where you know they do not use an applicant tracking system. But this lecture will show you how to make an ATS-friendly resume, as the majority of companies and recruiters, at least in the US and Europe, are using applicant tracking systems to scan resumes. All right. So by following these resume layout and design guidelines, your resume will appear balanced and professional. First up, font. Limit yourself to using just one or two standard fonts like Arial, Times New Roman, or sans serif. Font size, ideally you will select 11, 11.5, or 12. Sometimes you can go down to 10, but try for 11 or 12, but many employers find 10 acceptable as well. All right. As far as putting bold in your resume, keep it minimal, only for headings, job titles, or dates. Italic should be used sparingly or not at all, so it could be used as a subheading. And color, it should be mostly black, but you could have a complementary color, like a dark blue. All right. Let's continue here. So the length should be 1 or 2 pages. So as a rule, a career that is 10 years or less can be represented on 1 page. And a career that is more than 10 years can be represented in 2 pages. All right. And keep in mind that many people create a master resume that is much longer than 1 or 2 pages, and that is comprehensive. It includes all of their accomplishments and responsibilities, and then they condense it. They cut out unnecessary information once they have a job they really want to apply for, and they only include the most relevant information. I'm a fan of having a master resume. All right, white space. There should be white space on your resume to make it engaging visually for the reader and to not overwhelm them as they're reading. All right, bullets. You should use bullets to emphasize skills and accomplishments. This is very important. Sometimes people will put a ton of bullets for a particular job that they had. And really, you should limit yourself to 6 bullets for either your current job or next to current job, like your previous job. But further back, you should have fewer. So it could be 6, 5, 4 if you had, 3 job experiences to put onto your resume. But I have seen people add